the first of what? The month, and it's the first of May 2022. Welcome to the Zodiac Chatline. I am your host, Tennah, and of course, I got Cassie with me because she keeps us sane and put together.
Yes, the Cancer known for keeping it sane, always.
I mean, the Cancer somebody has to keep the Aquarius sane. It can't be the Aquarius. And we know fire signs don't necessarily keep air signs sane.
You know, everybody ebbs and flows. And when you're ebbing, I'm flowing, baby. And
that's
vice
right.
versa.
Hello. And that's right, Rachel. You better throw up some Bone Thugs in the chat. We know you an OG with us. That's right. That's right. How are you, girl?
I'm great, actually. I'm a lover of a Taurus new moon. We're going to talk about the meaning of when the new and full moon coincide with the eclipses here in just a couple minutes. But so it was a partial solar eclipse yesterday as well for the new moon. And I'll tell you what, I did the opposite of what I would normally do on a new moon and filled the day with a ton of shit to do. And it was all just such a blast. And it was fun to just have good drinks and food and do some Taurus-y shit. And yeah, I was vibing it. How are you?
Tired, really, genuinely tired. But I'm okay. Like for me, with having a Cancer rising, so the moon does rule my chart. I am truly affected by these energies. And this eclipse is like, I am good though. Like I'm good, but like I think I'm feeling it. I'm a little drained, but I did get to celebrate a wonderful person yesterday on their birthday and did some Taurus shit and ate some really good food and just, felt the love. And it was just such good energy. So that was really good. But I was really, internal for this type of bit because I just like, sometimes that eclipse energy, other people's energy is a little too much. And it's easier for me to just take a step back and kind of enjoy that. So I'm going to hop on your bandwagon though and get some more planting done. And I actually just got a photo. As you guys know, Coral is the plant, which out of the three of us, Coral regularly, Cassie and I are lifelong subscription members to Coral's plant
seed of the month,
seed of the week, whichever Coral has. And so I actually gifted one of the marigolds. I think they're marigolds. To a friend of mine, to her mother, and she just sent me a picture of it and it's already blooming. And like, that is the best part about like, it's just, and it's so, I gifted to her when it was like a little nub. And like, that is my favorite part about plants is just watching them bloom and grow just like we do. We went through a really long wintry period here. Winter was here and then it wasn't. And then spring was here and then pollen and then it wasn't. And then it was winter again. And then we got a glimpse of summer and maybe some spring. So I just like that the plants stay on their cycle and they bloom when they're ready, just like we do. So I'm excited for this. And speaking of the eclipse, we talked about setting intentions earlier. And a lot of people are very much like about setting intentions on the new moon. And there's a wonderful astrologer that I follow. If you guys ever want to check her out, her name is Sonia Francis. She is a very detailed astrologer. So if you're not into it, it might be a little bit much, but she does give some great pointers and explains a lot of the aspects that are happening. But what she does also do is she gives you good times to set intentions. And so because this was a new moon partial solar eclipse, eclipses give us so much extra energy. And sometimes we need to let the dust settle, if you will, in order to really feel the energy in the best kind of way. And so she has suggested that we start our intentions tomorrow at about 4:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So take your time for the rest of tonight. I would definitely, take a cute bath. I think I'm going to go get me a pedicure tomorrow. And work on some plants and then really take the time to nurture the intentions that I want. And especially because this is an eclipse, these will last about 6 months until the next eclipse cycle, which will be now when Scorpio season, and that's time for harvesting. So Do you want to talk a little bit about eclipses?
Let's talk about eclipses. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, starting out just the sort of like astronomical implications. So, if you watch the show and we break down people's charts, we talk about their north node placement. So that is, what path the lunar node was on at the time they were born. And eclipses happen when the new moon and full moon occur close to the north node and south node, the node path of the moon. And because the north node is currently hanging out in Taurus, the eclipses are going to happen on the Taurus-Scorpio axis because the nodes are on opposite signs and the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio. So what eclipses do in astrological terms and witchy kind of terms
Right.
and actually from a like literal physiological, I guess, or I guess just physical aspect is they heighten the energy of a full moon and a new moon. And so, for example, when eclipses happen, like Coral talked about tides being affected by the phases of the moon, eclipses increase tides or decrease them. And it's generally the vibe is that the full moons feel more full and more intense, and the new moons feel like more wide open, and maybe you feel a little bit overwhelmed when you normally would feel energized. And eclipses tend to bring about events that are out of your control in one way or another. And if you have Taurus or Scorpio placements, or really any fixed sign placements, are going to be affected strongly too. Aquarius and Leo being the other two, but definitely your Taurus and Scorpio people. I mean, I would expect over the next 2 weeks to be a recipient of a message, whether it be a literal one or a metaphoric one from the universe, a big ol', hey, remember you're not in control of everything. And then about 6 months from now, you may see whatever that thing was, whether it was good or bad or felt right or wrong at the time. You may see it resolved in some way or otherwise reflected in your life. And whatever happens is going to be for your highest good, though it may be hard to perceive at the moment.
Yes. And eclipses usually, especially the fuller moon eclipses, they are known to sometimes eclipse people, things, or situations out of your life. And as Cassie said, it's pretty much the universe's way of saying, we tried to give you the benefit of the doubt, and so now it's our turn. And if you haven't, like, there's a lot of times I know I can say myself as a stubborn fixed sign where I'm like, I mean, I know I should, but I don't want to, but I know I should. And the universe goes, it's cool. It's cool. Hold on one second. And then all of a sudden, my entire world flips upside down. And I'm like, eh. And then months later, I'm like, oh, universe, you always had my back. I was just in my own way. So I would implore everyone to give yourself and other people grace. I'm continuing to say that because I feel like we don't do that enough for ourselves, especially in the environment that we all live in. An environment, I mean the entire world and all the things that we see happening. And allow for things to transform in the way that they're supposed to. Taurus is about like material like physical transformation, and Scorpio is about like really deep, powerful underworld, dark stuff transformation. So again, fixed signs, we love you. That Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, Aquarius, we love y'all. But give yourself a lot of grace for the next couple weeks, especially with the full moon in Scorpio happening next week. So in the next couple weeks, we also are talking about some retrogrades happening because we have had a lot of four emotions. So everything will happen for your highest good, even if it hurts at the time. And I encourage you to like embrace it and heal with it and be honest with yourself and anyone else that may arise within this conflict. Because it'll give you a better sense of who you are. And sometimes you realize that the situations and the things that you thought were supposed to be there or not. And I would also look to where Taurus and Scorpio are in your chart, like which houses they're in. Mine is in the 11th house of community and friendship. So I find that if you know me and you're my friend, you're my friend. Like I hold on to friends a long time. But I have a feeling that I might lose some friendships and I have to learn how to get a new community, a different community. And I'm okay with that mostly. But I'm just trying to think positive and observe and not absorb. Remember, that is our theme right now, especially with all these transits.
Yeah, for sure. I think that this year's eclipse season is going to be intense for a lot of people, not just the fixed signs, not just the Taurus and Scorpios, but because the Taurus-Scorpio axis questions some very fundamental shit in our lives. So Taurus, like as Tennah said, you are dealing with what you have built, the material gains you have made. It's a little bit less your career than Capricorn. But that's looking at your career as the long lens. Mm-hmm. Taurus is like your job, what you're doing present day to make money, not what you're building yourself toward 20, 30 years from now or whatever. It is how your money is coming in, being handled at present, right? And then Scorpio is a sign of death, regeneration, legacies, and it's a really powerful question of like, okay, well, what does all this material stuff mean? What are you really putting forward into the world? What does it really mean to you? What is it really fulfilling? And what is really going to happen 2 or 3 or 4 generations from now because of it? Right.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of tension around that plane. And, when you experience something in those realms, just trust that it's, the universe, if you are doing the best you can to be a good person in the universe is going to do the best it can to give you what you want.
That's right. The energy will be reflected back. Exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not going to feel good. I also think it's going to be a very intense eclipse season because it coincides with 2 traditional pagan holidays. So Beltane is today, May 1st, or May Day, which is, separate thing. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then we'll be close to Halloween or Samhain. I don't know how exactly to say the Celtic holiday. But we're talking, so Beltane is kind of a pastoral holiday in the Celtic and like Northwestern European traditions. But the period halfway between the spring equinox and the summer solstice, basically. And it's when the cows start to get moved into the summer pasture, and it's like flowers and a very fertile time. I noticed when I was doing some research about Beltane, there's a lot of baptismal fire. And I think that's interesting, thing to think about, especially with eclipses, is it's like, okay, the universe is going to test you, and when you're going to come out, you're going to be more protected and stronger. Yeah. And then May Day is also International Workers' Day in honor of the Haymarket Affair. If anyone has ever Googled that or knows anything about labor history, that was integral in the fight for the 8-hour workday. And May Day gets celebrated around the world by workers. There were actually protests that got violent in France today because they are protesting low wages. Over there, the struggle is worldwide. It doesn't get celebrated a lot in the US because capitalists don't want international workers, like holidays. That's not super their thing.
Let's just be real. Let's just be real about it. The other thing I actually did also learn about May Day was about the fertility, because it's like the height of spring, and just like, the fertility gods, and just really enjoying. And that's why I was so excited that the plant was blossoming, and that my friend sent me that I was just like, oh yes, like you just know better things are coming. You never know what's under the dirt. So hell yeah for May Day.
Yes.
So you ready?
Yeah, we're gonna bring in our guest.
So for Leos love us and we love y'all because why not? But go ahead, introduce our lovely guest. Cassie.
So our guest tonight is Marlise, and she is a Leo queen, as you will be able to tell by her gorgeous hair. And she, in addition to that, she's a Gemini moon and an Aries rising. And we're
Hi.
Hey,
girl.
Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah,
The
Okay.
you're really
main
good.
on full effect, Leo Queen, all day, every day. So thank you for joining us. We're so excited to talk to you about your chart. Um, you mentioned in the call, we have a little pre-call with our guests every week, that you have gotten into astrology in the past few years. So do you know your big three placements?
I do. Okay.
Yes. Okay, we're excited.
Let's
Yes.
hear what you think about them.
Well, I've always been okay. So I always knew I was a Leo because that's the one that everyone knows, or like their sun sign. Um, and that kind of, I feel like I don't live all of that as much right now, but growing up, it definitely was very, very much like I'm super loud, I'm a super extrovert, or I mean, I don't know if I'm loud to everyone, but I talk a lot. Um, and I'm a really loyal friend and I'm really into community. Um, but also like I'll shank a bitch if you cross my friend. Like, but not literally.
No, literally,
But
it's fine. Keep your
Right.
keep that same Leo energy. We love it, girl. We love it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
um, but yeah. So, and I have the mane, but although I'm always like, but female lions don't have the mane, but like I very spiritually or
True.
something. I like very feel the mane.
Hmm.
Anyway, um, let's see. So my rising sign is Aries, um, which makes sense because most of the things I I'm driven by a strong sense of ethics and have hold my to some people's complaints hold my um, value system very strongly. And I have been called judgmental of people who don't quite meet that. But I think that my value system is like really like the basic shit. So if you're not like meeting my like baseline expectations, that's not an unreasonable ask. But I've been told some people don't
Girl,
feel that way.
girl, I tell you what, you better tell everybody you're a Leo without telling who you're a Leo. I love it. I'm here for it. And then what do you know about your moon sign?
Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess that's like where I'm kind of more. It's supposed to be like your internal world, maybe a little bit. I've like read it different ways, um, and kind of more torn between like, or like I can see multiple sides to everything. Um, I've in the last several years have come down on like being less empathetic on certain kinds of sides, but like I can see them. Um, but and also like a little bit. I don't know. I had an idea and I lost it, but it'll come back.
Sounds like a Gemini moon. Shiny object.
No, that's great. I feel like
Yeah.
you were 100% hit on the, the high points of all of those placements. So kudos to you. We get to dive into the weeds a little bit. So Shanae, where would you like to begin?
At the beginning, because what? The sun is shining. Um,
Yes.
so your chart is quite pretty much on point. Because your rising is Aries, everything kind of falls in the house that it's supposed to, mostly in your chart. Some things are shifted a little bit because you are dead smack in the middle of Leo's energy. You are actually my exact opposite. I fox with you guys. Y'all are some top notch. But you have your sun in the fifth house of Leo, where it's supposed to be, where it can literally shine the brightest. And you do have Mercury in there, and you saying "shank a bitch," you can tell that's where your Mercury is. So, my question for you is, how do you let your creativity shine?
Um, I've been, working on giving myself outlets and um, I like to do art occasionally, but it's been more of like an intending to sort of thing lately. Um, I I don't know, I think about things. I'm a problem solver, like a little bit like codependent, like caretakery, but you know, uh yeah, I'm just trying I'm always trying to like maybe too much strategize and figure things out but like come up with creative different like, oh well this didn't work. Like I'm really bad at accepting things and I'm always trying to like reason out of them. So I'm like, oh well these things haven't been working through very possibly like no fault of my own, like very much independent moving things that I don't control. But instead of just like accepting that, I often I'm like, all right, well, okay, what about this? What about this new idea I haven't tried? What about this? Yeah. So
Interesting. That's very interesting.
or that's at least how I've been experiencing it very much recently. I mean, but I am like sitting literally at my art table and like surrounded by a bunch of art. But so I do that too.
Have you, I encourage you to do it a lot. I encourage you to not think about art and just be the art. Because you're meant to use creativity and self-expression and child's play and pleasure in order to shine. Like that's where you are the most, that's where you light up the most is through your creativity. And because it's naturally where it should be, being your best Leo self is amazing, you know? So I encourage you to focus, to just have fun with it. Like, don't think about it so much and just have fun with it. Cause it's more innate in you than just, trying to like think about it.
I have a question too, because I think it might speak to your kind of hesitancy about embracing some of this creative energy. And my question for you is, how important is it to you to be your best self?
Oh God. Yeah, so I'm working on like unlearning like perfectionism as, a facet of white supremacy culture, and like that shit only hurts me and lots of other people too. But yeah, and working on like progress over perfection. But definitely growing up with like driven academically and sciences and then whatever, that there like was a right answer to things. I don't remember the question anymore. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. How important is it to you to be your best self? It sounds like quite.
Right.
Yes.
I asked this in part because of your Aries and Leo placements, right? Like Aries and Leo genuinely feel they are the best. And like when you say you're
it's really hard though to like not reinforce that like if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself when other people fuck it up. Like
Right. But this is speaking to your karmic path. So your karmic path is where the North Node was at the time you were born. And your karmic path, the North Node, well, it's really where the South and North Node were, right? But the idea is you are evolving toward your North Node. That the sign that your North Node is housed in are the goals you need to be reaching toward. The behaviors, the kind of internal logic that you need to be reaching toward. And the South Node is what you're coming from. And your North Node is in Pisces, which is very much the sign of having faith and letting go and letting
oh no, I'm so bad at both of those.
And it's because your South Node, the energy you came into this life, the energy you are so comfortable with is Virgo, who is very much the perfectionist, analysis paralysis, perfect like doer of the zodiac. And you're doing goddess's work, I can tell, but by recognizing these patterns, and they are so hard to let go of for people with that Virgo energy, right? It's because you feel there is a right way, and in many cases there is, but it's not worth your sanity to make everything right. And most of all, most importantly, is don't apply that judgmental gaze, that critical finds every teeny thing that could have been done differently to yourself, because that can be so harmful, and it just robs you of so much joy that you can have in just I felt very free when I stopped giving a shit if things were perfect and just finishing them and doing them and like letting them be what they are. And it has been an important, I think, life lesson. And what happens with I think Virgos are at big risk of never putting anything out there because nothing ever meets their expectations. And when you talk about the intention to do work, it's like, because you want to be Matisse at, you know, the beginning of your game, and it's not everything is going to be perfect the first time out. And especially with art, I think it's like, you just have to let it go. You could paint a painting forever into eternity, just adjusting tiny details, right? And so though there's goodness in imperfection, and having faith that it'll all be okay, and being compassionate with yourself, and knowing, finding the beauty in what's not exactly right. Like that's the energy your soul needs to evolve to. But it's a hard, you know, thing to embrace those North Node. Mine is in Gemini, and I have to embrace that lots of people can have truths that are different than mine, and that's really hard for me to accept. We have a strong moral compass in common, so
Yeah.
you know, yeah, but that's very interesting.
So now we're going to get into a little more about what you value, your resources, and things like that. So I'm just going to ask these questions. They're kind of all the same. How do you feel about your resources? What makes you feel safe enough to thrive? And how are your emotions with money?
So I've never made a living wage in my life. I frequently have like double digits, like, it has happened enough times that I had double digit bank account, like not a whole dollar. Lots of degrees. That's not true. 2 degrees. But yeah, I am making the same thing I made a decade ago, after inflation. Because that's the jobs I just end up with, and a lot of times I do like nonprofit work, which nonprofits do good work, and also there's the whole, anyway, we'll leave that to the side. Anyway, where I feel like the cause and the work I'm doing justifies doing it for not enough pay. And if I ever get more than like $1,000 in my bank account, I get really uncomfortable because I can think of other people who need that more. Right now I work at a nonprofit that that serves women experiencing homelessness, sex and drug trafficking, domestic abuse, trauma, and yeah, drug addiction. I think that's it. Anyway, but like it's just so much like, I don't know. And I want to be super anti-capitalist in my like heart, I am. But also buying shit makes me so happy, or like acquiring shit I'm like a goddamn magpie. Like I will like be walking my dog and I'll see something, I'm like, can I make an art project with that? Like, I definitely know that I have slightly hoarderish tendencies, and so it's like a thing to keep in check. But I try to be like really specific about what I acquire, and like either research it first, or as much as possible try to get secondhand for like the environment or for my budget. But like, you know, like when you like purge things, I didn't realize that everyone didn't do this until, you know, someone pointed out. But like I have to tell the story of every item. Like my experience with that thing before. I mean, if like something I never wore, I'd be like, oh, I never wore that. But I'm like, oh, I wore this out with friends this time, or this is the shirt I wore this is where I got this. Like, anyway, my dad also shows love by like giving gifts, so there's like some entrenched like, you know, nice material items or like special material items is love. And that's a whole fucking thing. But yeah, I really like soft textures, and I love my bed. It makes me feel, oh, and like, so I moved back home with my parents, and that's where I live now, in my high school bedroom. During 2020, when I was unemployed and it didn't make sense to be paying $1,200 a month to live in Durham. But so like my mom has a lot of different preferences, and so it's kind of like shown into stark contrast. Like I really like having backups of things. Like it makes me a little uncomfortable when I'm like, oh, we only have like a can of tomatoes, because what if I want to make more sauce but not one can? Like what if I want to make a recipe that calls for 3? Then I have to go out. Like, it just makes me feel safer when I have like backups.
Yeah. It sounds like you rationalize a lot of what value means to you. And like, how you said, like, well, I have to tell you the story about why this means so much to me before I have to, like, remove it from my space. And so I would encourage you to as much as you can, don't rationalize it, just enjoy it, because it feels like it kind of gets you in a loop of like thinking about this and that, and just allowing it to be. You are probably quite, like, I think it's very commendable that you are like, I could be doing so much more with this. This money could go to this, and this, and not having it. But you have the ability to kind of manifest good, monetary energy without having to rationalize and think about it so much. But it is attached to your emotions because it's in your second house. So like your value is kind of how you feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that moon in second house placement, but in Gemini too. So that where yeah, like, man, I feel for you because goddess bless all the folks working in nonprofits. I sit on the board of directors of a nonprofit organization and working in turbo like capitalist though, system myself.
Same.
And it's there's a I don't really have an answer to the question of how you get through this life that we have to here in the United States, where everything is driven by capital, and also live according to a moral code. What I would suggest is, because Gemini is so they are like not only magpies with possessions, but with ideas and friends as well, is to look for places where you may be able to find a low energy side hustle. If having a little extra feels helpful to you and makes you feel more comfortable, like having a backup, have a backup, kind of. And I know it's like easy to say that, and you look at side hustles and they can all be, some of them can be treacherously time sucks compared to how much money you actually get. But like, one thing I did for extra money for a while was I wrote for an internet like company and just would write they'd send me like a business and be like, write 3 blogs for this and we'll give you like X amount of dollars. And so every month I'd write, like, now I know a lot about roofs and retirement communities because I wrote these random blog posts for these companies. But like, there's stuff like that where it's not it wasn't a shit ton of time, and it was like, okay, this is an extra few $100s here. And invest, that you can do a lot with a little bit with investing. And if it, again, if a moon in your second house is part of your comfort, is going to come from feeling that you have a solid material, like a solid, foundation, right? A solid material foundation. And it's okay to like money and the things money buys, because we grew up. And
the dog agrees. The dog agrees. That's
okay, baby.
Your dog is such a hardcore capitalist.
Your dog's like, get that money.
Actually, he's got his ACLU Civil Liberties Watchdog T-shirt on right now.
Get that money, dog. Honey. Get that money, dog. And the dog said, get to the money.
I love it. Anything you want to say about the karmic path before we dive into the game? Because
I was going to say, I see that. I was actually going to ask one more thing before the karmic path is, what words or sayings are you known for? Like Marlise isms. Like somebody goes, oh yeah, Marlise said that.
I say blurg. I don't know. That is something that's been pointed out to me that like I don't know if other people say. Hobbs, honey. Oh, I'm sure that there are them. But I don't know, lots of like affectionate names. Hobbs.
Hobbs, you crazy for this one, Hobbs.
Look, he's still
my
cute,
God. It's so
He's
cute.
actually wearing it as a tank top because
Yes.
they don't make
Sun's out,
t-shirts for
guns
his
out.
build very effectively.
Yeah. Hot boy
Um,
summer. I'm here for
Yes.
it.
yes, yes.
Um,
Um, yeah, I don't know. I speak my mind in general, so I don't know if there's like a specific um phrase that yeah, that is coming to mind right now. Maybe like later tonight, I'll be like, "Oh my God, are these like 7 things I could have said then?" But
it's all good. It's just because you have Leo and Mercury, and that's a creatively dramatic way to speak. So I was just curious if you had some Marliseism, but Blurg, we'll take that one. What were you gonna say, Cass?
I was going to say, I will also, because Marlise is known to us because Marlise and I worked together a decade ago for a political organization whose names we won't speak right now, but that you have a very like commanding voice, and it was a job we had to do door-to-door canvassing, which is absolutely miserable fucking work. And you really have to be able to just command a conversation to do it. So I will attest to, she absolutely has that a way of commanding her speech.
I love it. All right, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of your karmic path, and these are just going to be quick little like notes for you to take into account for you to help yourself. So I love that you're in nonprofit work because you're on the karmic path is called the way of devotion, and the goal is to basically find a cause, person, something to devote yourself to. And clearly, nonprofit work is it. So you are already in the right direction. But your core lesson is being able to hear what your heart is telling you. The goal is to find a person, cause, principle, or deity to which you can unreservedly devote yourself to. The release is the tendency for self-pity. The reward is the joy of following your lovely Leo heart. A balance point is between selfishness and sacrifice. And that's a very interesting kind of axis to be on. The suggestion is to avoid worry, learn to relax, and let things be. Pay attention to your feelings, acknowledge your mission. And the crystal and gemstone for this karmic path is going to be Sigalite. It connects individuals to their reason for existence and supports the feeling of having a mission. This stone reveals methods of embodying the divine in human form. Your stone affirmation is, I am safe and protected within my own bubble of light. And I work to bring to reality my deepest dreams, as well as the collective dream of a planet of light. So, girl, relax. You got this.
Yeah, it's so easy. Just relax.
Relax all your muscles. And also having a North Node in Pisces in the 12th house, I encourage you to find time to connect to your higher self, whether through meditation, spirituality, sound bowls. I'm just throwing things out there, Reiki, some sort of like healing spirituality that's not on the tangible 3D plane. So whatever that works for you, however you can connect to your higher self.
And it may have to be alone. The 12th house placements is you really do need time that is solitary, whether it is your spiritual time. You may feel comfortable in a church. I like being in a crowd of spiritual people, though I don't attend a church right now in my life, but that might work. But also carve out time to be like quiet and alone and just away from everybody else's stuff, because you need that to replenish your own cup
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get to this game, girl.
Yes. So
okay.
Marlise is going to play a game with us. We're going to bring back Blame It on Your Big Three. This time, feline edition. So since you are a lioness, but to your point, the Leo is a masculine sign. So its embodiment is the male lion with the mane. But we decided, and because I've seen your cat pictures on the internet, that we would do your big three as pop culture cats. So Tanae and I are going to go back and forth. We're going to give you a famous cat from pop culture, and you're going to guess whether it's representative of your Leo sun, your Gemini moon, or your Aries rising. And there's one in particular that you have a 2 out of 3 shot on because Tanae and I both picked it for separate placements. So Tanae, you go first.
All right. Puss in Boots.
I guess maybe like the Leo sun, because it's very like dramatic.
You are, yes, girl, add the dramatics. And also, you know, when the Puss in Boots, his eyes are all big and it's like, oh my God, pay attention to me. Perfect. Yes, great job.
Amazing. Okay. The Cheshire Cat.
I feel like he's Gemini.
100%. Absolutely. Absolutely. Enigmatic. A little, you know, fun. And just a little, you know, you never know what he's going to do next.
All right. The next one is Salem from the Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Are we talking about like the one with Melissa Joan Hart, or the new one?
Nope,
Okay.
old school girl. That's my age. I barely watched the new one. Yeah.
See, he was a little sassy. I didn't watch a ton of it, but that's my takeaway. So I don't know. Is he also a Gemini moon? But he also, I haven't seen it enough to give you a good answer. I'm sorry.
I actually select that for your Aries rising because the story behind Salem was that he was a wizard trying to take over the world, and the witches turned him to a cat and put them in her coven.
Oh,
and so
well then.
I thought that was an Aries rising energy. Like, I'm about to be first, and the witch was like, no.
All right. Mufasa.
Ooh, say it again.
Well, definitely Leo.
Yes, all damn day.
The classic. The classic.
But he also seems like driven by like a sense of something bigger than himself, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
for sure.
He was not the bad guy. He was the like high-minded good guy who also got fucked over.
Yeah. I feel like 9 out of 10 times a Leo's the good guy. Like, yeah. I don't see, I have met shadow Leos that, you know, Leos who walk in a dark, you know, they head deep into the stubbornness, and if it's not all about them, then it's just, ugh. But like, I feel like I'm always rooting for Leos, man. I've almost never met any that are like terrible, and male or female, which is surprising because some of the signs, it's like the women are good and the men are, and vice versa. But
I'm gonna say I have definitely encountered a couple shadow, but you think about it like this: Leo is ruled by the sun, and so the shadow is like not being able to
when
shine.
It's there.
So that's pretty dark, you know, like that's super dark.
Yeah, true.
All right, next one is Tigga.
He's so bouncy and exuberant. I think that there would probably definitely be some like Leo in there.
I actually picked him.
And he's a little chaotic too.
I picked him for Gemini because I feel like that's
okay.
That's Gemini, chaotic and all over the place and never really sitting still, but super friendly. Like, how you doing?
And I had picked him for Aries because he's like literally just always all over the place. So you know what? Tigger might be your spirit animal,
right?
Marlise, because he's somehow embodied all three of your big three.
My room used to be decorated with Tigger. Well, okay, so like he was like the oh God, what's the word? Like the symbol, the mascot of like Jewish youth group thing, like my chapter.
Oh, nice.
And so I had Tigger on the wall. Yeah,
that's amazing. This is central.
And I did sing a wonderful thing about Tiggers as my audition song in 5th grade when I landed the part of a woodland fairy in Narnia, and I got to leave class 3 days a week for matinee performances.
Yes. See, that is one of the best facts. Thank you. We needed that. That is y'all heard it here first. One of the best facts.
That's amazing. I think this is our last one. This is going to be Nermal from Garfield.
Ooh. Isn't she sort of like Garfield's foil?
Yeah,
but like in a good way, like because he's like so yuck Mondays doing lasagna, but she's like sweet.
Yes, yep, all of that.
I don't know, would that, I don't know enough. Would that be,
I put her as Aries, because
okay.
I envision Garfield as very much like a Taurus energy, and like that would annoy him the most. You know, Taurus Garfield would just couldn't with, and she's always like doing a little bit of the most, but in a nice way, and she's fun and like she's likable, and Garfield hates that about her. So
Thank you so much. Is there anything
Yeah.
you want to promote with your peoples? You want to let people know what you be
yeah.
doing, or
I if you're in Tennessee or specifically in Memphis, right now we're in primaries. Or
yes, girl, tell us.
among other things, the DA race, and Shelby County DA Amy Wyrick is like literally fucking evil. I first interacted with her when I was doing rape survivor advocacy back in 2013. Just I won't get started, but she's evil. But she like delights in like trying and charging black children as adults. Like literally fucking evil. Like independently reviewed as the most number of, I forget the legal terms, but like doing wrong, like super pro putting people away. Um, so that's happening now, and then so that's primaries, and so that's a thing that a lot of my summer is going to be around. Um, Mostly getting rid of her. I don't know. That's
Hell
a
yeah.
few.
I am here for you standing up for everybody that does not have a voice. So thank you for that. We appreciate it. Your energy is needed. Clearly, you are devoted to saving the people, to standing up for the underdog, and I think that is a beautiful thing. Please continue to do that. You are finding your light. You are an amazing spirit. Thank you so much for coming on. We loved having
Thanks
you
for
on
having me.
here.
Yes.
Tell all your friends. Make sure your friends, everybody that's watching, get our YouTube subscription. You're going to get to see her show tomorrow.
All
But
right,
we going
I
to kick
will.
you out. Take care.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Primaries are happening
Girl, she
all
was
over the
like
country.
BT dubs, just like right here. Stacey Abrams. Okay, so.
Stacey Abrams was a rising star in the Georgia Democratic Party when we were working in our
Girl, and
political
now
organizations.
she's about to be the governor.
She
Hey.
better be.
Listen.
So an essential difference between fire and water signs. While Marlise's childhood bedroom was decorated with Tigger, mine was with Eeyore. So
How appropriate. I
yes,
think that's the most appropriate. So you want to hop in these questions real quick?
I do. Yes. So
Cool.
hopefully she's still here.
I know,
At
I did
Callie
see it.
Moon Art popped in the chat, and we're going to
Are
address
you
her
still
question.
here, girl? Holler at pop up in there. Let us know you're still in here. We're about to answer your question.
So her question, what does Pluto retrograde in Capricorn mean for me as a Capricorn?
Kidding. You want to go first?
Sure. So I think it's interesting at a few different levels because a lot of people won't live through Pluto transiting their sun sign. And in general, you can look at the planets relative to all, like where Mercury is now, where is it in your chart? And then like you can kind of interpret how the planets are at present and in relationship to your chart in different ways. And so you really have to look at a holistic picture. So Pluto in Capricorn for her will not be in her Pluto, like Pluto's not transiting her Pluto sign, right? Because the last Pluto in Capricorn transit was hundreds of years ago. But she now has the planetary influence of Pluto in her arena of the space I occupy in the world. And so I suspect, the last since 2007 has been a transformational period for all of us, y'all. Just living here on Earth. It's been a wild time since '07. But, Capricorn may be feeling that even more acutely. And Pluto retrograding in Capricorn, I think actually, because Pluto is such a dark and intense influence in its forward motion, retrograde actually might be a little bit of a break and be a way to like look inward and see what am I feeling that needs to be changed right now, and kind of it's time to go inward and do some work on, okay, who am I in here? What am I growing that's going to come out next? You know, what can I do over the next few months to help push me into the next phase of my life?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would say, just to kind of actually elaborate on that, but pretty much everything I would have said, but a lot of internal transformation that most people won't see. And a lot of like, I think it's a lot of shadow work for Capricorn suns, honestly. Like, and Capricorn suns are so focused on their outwardly long-term ambitions, as we talked about, because their ruler is the 10th house, that I think this is a real assessment of what those ambitions really are and how they relate to who Capricorns are as a whole. Because if they can't be defined by their ambitions, what are they defined by? And I think that having a reality check in this is very helpful for Capricorns who are determined to be the goats and continue on a path, even if they don't want to change, even if the path should be kind of, they're going to keep going on it. So I think it's a really good time for you to look inward at some things that you may not want to address, but it's time to address them, especially with all of the positive energy that is in Taurus, but yet changeable energy in Taurus, which is the least sign trying to change. But I think for a Capricorn sun, take the time to do some really good shadow work, and it'll pay off, because I think Pluto is going to be retrograde for most of the rest of this year.
I think till November, I read.
Probably just before your birthday, Capricorn, because it'll probably then go direct again, and you'll have a new transformation, which is great by the time your birthday season comes around. But I think right now, whatever you have been focusing on ambition wise, it's really time to go within and say, is this really what I want to do?
Yes, I'm here for that.
We got the man with the best questions. Hook it up. He's always up in here. I love it.
Oh yes, of course. At Music Lover 3889, Alex, the Zodiac Chatline, super fan. We love you so much. Does your type of creativity depend on your astrological sign?
I would think sometimes it does. I really do, because I think every sign expresses creativity in the best way that they know, and that is their strength. We talked about Marlise's creativity because Leo is the ruler of the 5th house, and it rules your short, like, romances, creativity, self-expression. So that is basically ruled by, like, her being her is usually how her creativity expresses. Somebody with a Pisces sun, like Alex, for example, his creativity may be more internal, maybe more spiritual, maybe more soulful, maybe more musical. It's just going to it's going to express itself differently. Cassie's creativity may be expressed through however she really feels, because she's all Cancer-y and shit.
I would definitely go, if you're curious about what influences in your specific chart to look toward to unpack what your best creative outlets might be, check your 5th house. Do you have any planets in the 5th house? If you see like a Mars in the 5th house, you may best express yourself creatively through physical activities.
Right.
Your way of putting something out there in the world, maybe like a dance routine, or something that is dealing with your physical body. Also, I would look to where your Venus and Moon are, as far as what signs they're in and what houses. So I have Venus and again, and Mercury too, a little bit, because Mercury is how you communicate. And I think creativity and communication are tied together. I have all 3 of those in Cancer. 2 of them are in the 3rd house of writing and communication. And one of them is in the 4th house of family and, my siblings and children and whatnot. And, children, I guess, 5th house. But yes, and it's no surprise that I express myself by writing and writing about my childhood experiences and my lived experiences, and that's me. So
that is where it's at. I love it. So do we want to touch on Pluto retrograde right now before we hit this? Or
I would just say, I'll give a 10-second, my Pluto retrograde tip for all of us is, I think, shadow work, and especially around authorities in your career, the things that Capricorn is associated with. So question your own self about why you're doing the things you're doing. This very much goes on with our Taurus, and Scorpio eclipse cycle we have going on this year, but it's a good time to evaluate where you're headed and why, and know that it's okay if you don't want to do the things that your parents did, or don't want to do the things you thought you wanted to do. And, just be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think for Pluto retrograde?
I would definitely agree with that. And as we can all see, everybody is really rebelling against authority right now, because it just feels like authority is the dad who really has no idea what's going on, and making rules and like forcing its authority on people rather than leading people. And most of us, our parents, kind of grew up in a very different time where they didn't question authority as much as our generations do. And we understand that, like, even though what our parents think that they know is right, like, that's only their experience, and it's very colored by them growing up during the civil rights movement and beyond, and the 60s, and women's right movement and all of that. So I definitely think that Cassie is right. Shadow work is amazing. In the long run, it is terrible to go through, just being honest, but it's really helpful, because it allows you to no longer have to have that be a shadow. You make friends with the dragon. That is the most, and you learned how to work with it and not work against it. So with that said,
shadow by shining a light on it.
hello. With that said, guys, thank you always for joining us. We love you. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube. Thanks for always being with us on our pages and interacting with us. We are on the TikTok, and we're on the TikTok. We ain't gonna tell you about the other place, because anyway. But before we get out of here, because we just had a new moon solar eclipse in Taurus, today's card is going to be from the Moonology Manifestation Oracle deck by Yasmin Boland. And I'm excited. These are really good. We had a great one. Again, if you do want to do your intentions, wait till tomorrow, just a little after 4:28 p.m. exact, Eastern Standard Time. And according to Sonia Francis, we have until May 4th at the same time in order to do that. So quite a bit of time where you can take your time and think about your manifestations. So let's get a collective card for everybody, and then we'll be out this mug and see you next week. But Venus will be in Aries in the next couple days, so look forward to some fun, fleeting experiences. All right. I pulled two, but this is one we're going to go with. We have the first quarter moon in Virgo. Assess the situation. And I think we all can agree right now that's a lot of what we're doing, is assessing situations. Mm-hmm. All right. So it says, stop, breathe, and take stock. Perhaps you've taken on too much. Now is the time to be reliable and practical. Laziness is your enemy. Also, don't be too influenced by the crowd and what they're saying. Do you still want to use what you want, and as much? Do you still want what you used to want, and as much? If so, are you really doing what needs to be done to make your dreams real? Express how you feel, but do it without too much self-criticism or criticism of others. What? Make an honest inventory about where you could do more to manifest your dreams. I would say tune into your manifesting powers and say, energies of the first quarter moon in Virgo, thank you for helping me towards clarity and confidence. The best time to work your magic is when the moon is in Virgo on Wednesday, Mercury's day, or Mercury's hour. The manifesting mindset. This card is asking you to be mentally flexible. Whatever challenges you face, your current situation is unlikely to be at a total impasse. So guys, let go of the criticism. Relax. Marlise, relax. Take a break. Don't get lazy, but relax.
That's
I know
right.
it's honestly, I think it's quite difficult for us to relax. I mean, I say that, and Cassie and Coral both know, like, it's a struggle. But it's necessary. It's necessary to say out loud. A lot of things that I say to you guys is stuff that I'm saying to myself here so I can hear it, because sometimes it needs to be repeated. As always, for this cycle, because it's going to get here. We'll see you this coming Sunday. It will be Mother's Day, so shout out to all the moms that are here and that are not. But we will definitely see you back on Sunday, same time. But observe, do not absorb. Stay true to yourselves. Cassie, I love you, girl. It's all
I love
love.
you.
Guys, have a great week.
Peace.